it's Dawn from Ninja Bunny Crochet. Today I'm going to show you how to make this hook case. It can hold 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 crochet hooks, a pair of scissors, and I also put in 2 yarn needles and 4 stitch markers, but you can put however many yarn needles and stitch markers you want to fit in this. It really is up to you. The case closes by rolling it up like this, and then I have a tie attached to the back, and then you just tie it closed like so. Just like that, and you can throw it in your whip bag and you're off. I made this using Red Heart Super Saver, and I used a 3.75 millimeter hook, which I actually have inside this. I used a 3.75 millimeter hook, which is an F hook. Today, for tutorial purposes, I'm going to be using Karen 1-pounders to do this. You don't have to use that type of yarn that I used. You can use any medium 4 worsted weight yarn. It's really up to you. So grab your hooks, grab your yarn, and let's get going making a crochet hook case. To start our hook case, we're going to start with a chain of 61. Once you have your chain of 61, flip your chain over, and we're going to be working in these back bars of the chain. You don't have to work into the chain this way, but I feel it gives your project a better overall look. So we're going to do a half double crochet, second chain from hook, and I know this is a tiny chain because we're using a small hook. So half double crochet in each chain across the hook. Again, these are a little tight, but we want that tight weave. That's why we're using a small hook. So continue half double crocheting your way down the chain, and I'll meet back up with you at the end of the row. I'm at the end of the chain. We have 60 half double crochets. To start row 2, we're going to chain 2, turn the work. The chain 2 does not count as a stitch, so we're going to half double crochet in the first stitch and half double crochet in each stitch across again. After you get on that first row, then it's much easier, even with the small hook. So we're going to continue working back and forth in half double crochet until we have 20 rows. So I'll meet back up with you once you have your 20 rows of half double crochet. I've got my 20 rows of half double crochet, and we're going to fasten off. Now we're done with the body, and you can weave in your ends because we are now done with this part of the body. Just back out the camera so you can see. This is the body of the hook case, and you can set this aside after you weave your ends in. You can just put this aside. And we're going to start the hook pocket. We're going to start with the A color, which is the same as the body of the crochet hook case. So again, we're going to start with a chain of 61. Once you have your chain of 61, we're going to flip over the chain, and again we're going to be working on these back bars of the chain, and we're going to single crochet, second chain from hook, and we're going to single crochet our way across the chain. So continue single crocheting across the chain, and I'll meet back up with you at the end of the row. I'm at the end of row 1. To start row 2, we're going to chain 1 and turn the work. Single in the first stitch, and then we're going to skip the next 2 stitches, 1, 2, and then we're going to put our double crochet shell into the next stitch. That's going to be 5 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then we're going to skip the next 2 stitches and single in the next. Skip the next 2 stitches and do another shell stitch, double crochet shell stitch, which is 5 double crochets. Skip the next 2 stitches, 1, 2, and single in the next. This is going to be the pattern all the way across till we get to the end of the row. Please repeat this, and I'll meet back up with you at the end of the row. I'm at the end of the row. I did my last shell. I have 2 stitches left. I'm going to single crochet in the last stitch, and we're going to drop our first color, our green, and we're going to pick up our second color. In this case, I'm going to do cream. Make sure you leave a long enough tail that you'll be able to weave it in. I'm going to chain 2. It does not count as a stitch. And before we flip our work, we're going to fasten off color A, which in this case is the green. And then we can tie these ends together. And we'll weave them in after. Now we can turn the work and start row 3. So for row 3, we're going to place 2 double crochets in that first stitch. Then we're going to skip the next 2 stitches, 1, 2, and place a single crochet in the top of the shell. Then we're going to skip the next 2 stitches and place a shell, a double crochet shell, in the single crochet of the previous round. So that's 5 double crochets. Skip the next 2 stitches, 1, 2, and single crochet in the next, which is the top or the middle of the previous round's shell. Skip the next 2 stitches and do a shell in the single crochet of the previous row, which is the 5 double crochets makes a shell stitch. And that's our repeat pattern all the way across the row. Skip 2, single crochet, skip 2, shell stitch. Repeat that all the way across the row, and I'll meet back up with you at the end of the row. I'm at the end of row 3. I have 3 stitches left. We're going to skip the next 2 and place 2 double crochets into the last stitch. Now we're going to change color, so before we finish that last double crochet we're going to switch colors back over to our green color. Let's get the end of it here. And we can snug these 2 up and tie them together. Now we've chained 1. We're going to turn the work. To start row 4, we're going to single crochet in the first stitch. We're going to skip the next stitch and we're going to place a shell stitch in the next. Again, the shell stitch is the 5 double crochets. Skip the next 2 stitches and single in the next. Again, that's what our repeat's going to be across the row. Skip the next 2 and shell in the next. Skip the next 2 stitches and single in the next. Please repeat this pattern all the way across till you get to the end of the row, and I'll meet up with you at the end of the row. We're at the end of round 4. We have 2 stitches left. We're going to single crochet in the last stitch, and we're going to change colors again. So we're going to switch over to our color B. chain 2, and let's tie this off. And turn the work. For row 5 through 8, we're going to repeat rows 3 and 4. So to start row 5, it's going to be a repeat of row 3. So we've chained 2, and we're going to place 2 double crochets into that first stitch. Skip the next 2 stitches and single crochet in the next. Skip the next 2 and shell stitch into the next. This is our double crochet shell stitch, is what I was referring to it before. It's 5 double crochets into the same stitch. So continue with rows 5 through 8, and I'll meet back up with you at the end of row 8. I'm at the end of round 8. I made my last single crochet, and we're going to fasten off. And we still need to weave in all of our ends. So we have all of our ends on this side to weave in, and all of our ends on the other side to weave in. Once we have all of our ends weaved in, then we're going to connect our hook pocket to the back of our case. So this is going to connect to the back of our case. So let's get all of our ends weaved in, and I'll meet back up with you so that we can connect our pocket to the back. Once you have all your ends weaved in, lay your hook pocket on top of the back. We're going to line up the bottom like this and the sides, because we're going to single crochet around the entire piece. If you need to, go ahead and place a few pins on your project to hold it in position while you're starting to crochet, because the bottom piece is going to be, you have your stitches so that you can match them up. We're going to go through both thicknesses on the bottom and on the sides. Just like that. Now we're going to use the color B, which in my case is going to be cream. So turn your piece around so that you have your hook pocket up at the top, and place your hook into that corner or that last stitch. Make sure you go through both thicknesses, and we're going to attach your yarn with a standing single crochet, which means we pull up a loop. Bring down the camera so you can see a little better. I'll do that again for you so you can see what I was doing. You go through both of your stitches just like this. Pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through both loops like you were doing a regular single crochet. Place another single crochet. Make sure you go through both thicknesses there. I only went through one. So You want to make sure you go through both. And place another single crochet there. Your corners are going to have 3 single crochets, but since this is the first corner, we're going to do 2. When we come back around, we'll put another single crochet in there to finish the corner. Turn your piece, and then we're going to place evenly spaced single crochets along the ends, but make sure you're going through both thicknesses. There isn't like a set number of single crochets on the sides. Just make sure your single crochets are evenly spaced out. Continue single crocheting along the sides, and I'll meet back up with you when you get up to the corner. Okay, I'm at the end of the side. I have 1 stitch in the corner, and we're going to place 2 more in the corner to turn the corner. So 3 single crochets in the corner. And now you can see we have the stitches up along the top. We're going to place 1 single crochet in each one of those stitches till we get to the next corner. Once you get to the next corner, place 3 single crochets in that corner to turn the corner. I will meet back up with you when you get down to the bottom of the pocket again. I'll show you where I mean. Go all the way across, down to the bottom of the pocket, down to this corner right here. When you get down to this corner, this is where I'll meet back up with you. Okay, I'm at the corner of the hook pocket. I've got 1 stitch in there, and we're going to place our 2 more in there to turn the corner. So we have 3 stitches in the corner, like so. And now we're going to go along the bottom edge. Let me just pull my hook out here and show you. And this is why I had you work into the chain in the back loop and the back bar, so that these look like stitches, so that you can match them stitch for stitch as you're going along the bottom of the pocket. So now all you have to do to close up the bottom pocket is go in to the stitch, go into 1 stitch, and go into the next stitch on the bottom like that, just like that, and single crochet. Go into the next stitch and the next stitch on the body piece. Sorry, my yarn is in the way so you can see what I'm doing. And pull through and single crochet. Again, into the stitch. So it's a little difficult for, I'm sorry if you're having trouble seeing the stitches because they're a little fuzzy. And into the next one on the next stitch, and single crochet. So continue that all the way across the pocket, and I'll meet up with you at the end. I'm at the end of the row. I made my last single crochet into the same stitch that we first started in, and now we're going to slip stitch into that first single crochet to fasten off. There we go, and now our corner is completed. We just need to weave in these 2 little ends, and then we'll work on stitching our pockets down for our hooks. I'll be right back after I weave in those ends, and I'll show you how to stitch in those pockets. To sew the hook pockets on, you want to use your A color, the one that matches the back. Thread up your yarn needle and place a slip knot on the other end. Now we're going to sew in these colors that match. That way the stitches, when they come through on this side, won't be quite as noticeable because they'll be in the same color. So how I did it is I just kind of pull back the pocket here a little bit and get a stitch in, and when that slip knot comes up, and place your yarn through there and tighten it down like that, and that way there's a nice little knot there, so it's not going to come out, and it's going to be inside your pocket, so it's not going to be noticeable. And then I just kind of come up through the pocket and then do a tiny stitch, so it's not going to be noticeable. The smaller the stitches are, let me bring the camera down so you can see. So we're going to do tiny stitches into this pocket to go all the way down so that it's not as noticeable, so it kind of disappears. This end right here, oops, sorry about that. So you can see what I'm doing. So the stitches aren't going to be as noticeable. This little end right here, we'll weave that in later. Then you can flip it over to the back side and do another tiny little stitch so that it's not, again, is not noticeable. And you're just going to continue with tiny stitches going back and forth or up and down, however you want to put that, through the length, all the way down the length of your pocket. Just like that, so the stitches aren't really noticeable. And then come back from the other side and come up from the front and back down. So go down all of the green shells, or whatever color that you're using, but for me it's the green shells or the A color. And I go down all the center of these shells all the way down, even down on this last one right here. I just do it very close to the edges over here to make this a thin little pocket on the end, because I'll show you on my completed one. It'll fit a small hook. This is a 2.25 millimeter or a B hook, and it fits in there perfectly. So continue sewing your pockets, your hook pockets down, and I'll meet up with you after we get all our hook pockets sewn in. Make sure you sew your tails down, any tails that you get, because you'll probably have to use more than one strand of yarn to get all your pockets sewn in. Once we have that all done and your tails all weaved in, then we will work on making this little strap right here for the back to close up your hook case. I'm on my last pocket, and I wanted to show you with this last pocket, because the other ones were stitching down the center of the shell, and on this last pocket you don't want to go down the center of the shell because you won't be able to fit your hook, the small hook in there. So you're going to want to go down the side right here so that you have enough room to get your hook in there. So if you need to, place your hook in there. This is my smaller hook. I do have a couple of smaller hooks, but this is the one that I use more often, is my B hook. So I just place it in there and make sure that I have the right size. So my stitches are going to go along this edge right here. I'm going to skip over the white or the cream color and just stitch into the green. So that was just a little tip that I wanted to show you before we finish up here, so that in case you get to this pocket, you'll see that you don't want to stitch down the center because it'll be too tight to get your hook into. So here is the completed hook case. So here is the completed hook case. I added my hooks in here to show you what it looks like and that it does indeed fit all of the hooks. And I added the little needles in there, yarn needles, and some stitch markers and scissors, just like the one I did in the example that I showed you at the beginning. So now all we do is just grab our size F hook out and show you how to make the strap to close this up. So we're going to want to use whichever color yarn you want to use to do your strap with. I'm going to use the B color or the cream color. So just move the camera down here so we can see what we're doing. And we're going to start with a chain of 100. So again, we're going to start with our chain and just keep chaining till you get to 100. Once you have your chain of 100, again, we're going to flip the chain over and work in these back bars. You don't have to, but like I've said before, I think it gives you a nice finished edge. Second chain from hook, we're going to single crochet. And we're going to single crochet our way all the way down the chain. Once you get down to the end of the chain, we're going to fasten off. I'll meet back up with you at the end of the chain. I'm at the end of the chain. We're going to fasten off. And we can weave in these ends, and then we'll connect this to the hook case. Roll the case up. So that it sits in the middle, and tie the strap around the case. Flip your case over. Take some yarn and sew the strap to the back of the case. It doesn't have to be a lot of stitches, just a couple of stitches, so that your strap, when you undo your case, you don't lose your strap. I just do a few stitches like that and then tie a knot. And cut off the ends. And the strap will cover up the knot. That way when you untie your case, your strap stays attached to your case and you won't lose your strap. Put your scissors back in there. Just like that. And now you have your hook case all ready to toss into your whip bag and take with you. So if you've liked this tutorial, please give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already, and ring that bell so you won't miss any of my tutorials. Thanks for watching and happy crocheting. Bye-bye.